the question is, does that really solve a big problem or a real problem or something that is really pressing? I'm not saying, sorry, probably there exists a Tinder for dogs somewhere. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think about what are you gonna spend your time on? And we have so many issues, and many of these issues are also issues that we as a society have. So that's the broader thing of making business more human.
Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to another episode of Perception Paradox, and today we're here for one more interesting, inspiring, I'm pretty sure open story together with Manuel Koelman. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Well, in my home language, which is Dutch, you would say Manuel Koelman.
Koelman. Manuel Koelman.
Yes.
Good. Great. In your home language, which is Dutch. I just got to know that Manuel actually is half Dutch, half Swiss, and I always thought that he's from Germany. So yeah, welcome. Every day in new information about the people you are surrounded by. That's great. But we will get there very soon. But I just want to give this brief story why we're here today. So for the ones who don't know who is Manuel is, I don't know, a person in the startup scene who is always known for its strength to not only organize great events and to build businesses, but I think mainly to gather people together to build meaningful connections. And one of the key learnings and things that resonated to me after one of the Pirate Summits was his very, very famous phrase, make business human again. So we're here not only to build business, we're here also to build connections, to be open, transparent, vulnerable. And and we met at Pirate Summit where I had a chance to attend a few of them. And I just want to give a warm welcome. Manuel, welcome to Perception Paradox.
Thank you so much. Really, really glad to be here and hope that I can tell something valuable to the community.
I am so happy that you found time to join before your event happening next week. And in general, you mentioned a lot of things are happening right now. But I want to start from the first questions first. I've just understood that you're not from Germany. You're half Dutch, half Swiss. What's your story and relationship with Germany then?
Well, it's a very complicated story. Basically, I grew up in Germany, but my mother language was always Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Speak it with my mom, even today, obviously with my siblings. Also speak it with my kids. So from the heart, I'm very much drawn to the Netherlands. We've always been at least twice a year in Switzerland. Half of my family lives in Switzerland. So that's the other part. I love the mountains. So that's my heart is in Holland, I would say. I enjoy the nature of Switzerland very, very much. And who knows? So my kids are also talking about at some point they want to move to Switzerland. Let's see. I also have. At some point, I might also move there. Who knows? Yeah, but it's a long story, a long family story. But that's also where my heart lies in these two countries.
Wow, that's beautiful. Switzerland is not a bad place to be, especially if you love the mountains and nature.
Oh yeah, I really like the mountains. I love the quiet there, and also love a lot about Switzerland. Of course, there are stereotypes about the Swiss and such, and some of them are maybe true. They're more German than the Germans, you might say. So very, but they also, I mean. I just about Switzerland. I have to share that quickly because I just love this so much. A few days ago, in the mail, I got my voting information. So I don't know. It's 3 or 4 times a year you get to vote directly on topics. And this was 2 things. One, it's about biodiversity. So do you want more biodiversity or not? And they don't ask the parliament. They ask the voters directly. And it's a little booklet which is very nicely written, very, very simple. So like if you're just interested, you can understand. And it's then to this question in a nutshell, and then you have a longer kind of explanation from both sides, and it's just wonderful. I always do this with my kids. It's wonderful. You have an idea. You are more, yeah, you have more agency in where the country is headed, and I really like that. Yeah, so it's
That's amazing.
there is something about this direct democracy. I don't know how we got here, probably about but it's really this is something I would love to see in Germany, in the Netherlands, and in other countries as well, because it makes it so tangible that you are part of the process and you have a say.
But it's complicated politics. But I heard about that, that the involvement of the people and citizens into the decision making, it's incredible. Talking about decision making and life and complexities of life, what brought entrepreneurship in your life?
I think I was 12 years old. I was reading a lot of books about Native Americans back then, and I was always inspired by these young chiefs of the tribes. And at some point, I also, yeah, I felt like I want to be like a chief like that, but not the boss, because they were never portrayed as a boss, but people that really had a tribe, that were leading a tribe, and yeah, caring for them, and making sure that they had a good place in the world. So that was certainly what very much inspired me around 12 years old, about leadership. So this is until today. These are my leadership lessons that I got from those books, which were romanticized in a certain way, certainly. And then I got to see with other people in my surroundings, not with my family, that they were thinking about making money in a different way, not just being employed with someone, but they had ideas, and then they said like, okay, how can I sell this, etc. People then selling something, or buying something for less money and then selling. So that's probably how a lot of entrepreneurship starts, where you get to understand how to make money. Okay, if I buy something for €1, I sell it for €1.50. I make 1.50 in profit. So that's something that I understood fairly early on. So in those years, I think entrepreneurship, the drive was formed, and certainly the drive. I wanted to be my own boss, or I didn't want to have someone to tell me what to do. And I started my first company then in my university years, and that was something that was very clear to me. I have to start my own company. Started it there without a lot of risk, I think, because I had certain like a cushion. I didn't have a lot of money that I spent, and I got the first learnings about the do's and don'ts of entrepreneurship. And then one thing came after the other, and I started a business, then the next one, the next one, the next one. How things go.
Do
Yeah,
you, do you-
I honestly I cannot imagine myself being employed anymore. Probably I would be a bad employee.
really? Why would you bet employee?
I think because I have, yeah, that's a very good question. It needs to be a really good cause, I guess. So I would be a good employee of a cause, but not a good employee of a boss, I think.
Okay,
So
interesting.
if there is a cause behind it and everybody has their responsibility and I have mine, and I say I'm going to push this for this cause, it's fine. But if somebody would tell me what to do, that would rather not be something that I would entertain, probably.
What do you like most about entrepreneurship then? That you have your own freedom?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. So it's really, I like to have agency. I like to have a certain thinking about the German word, the English word. I have the German word. If Germans are there, Selbstwirksamkeit is the right word. So that you have a certain, you are creating, as you have the feeling you are creating a certain impact. Probably agency kind of fits. Um, I want to really maximize that. To be honest, entrepreneurship is not really, you are not that free if you are really honest. There are different constraints, which are also totally fine, right? But we have constraints, we have responsibilities. I mean, if you are a freelancer, it's a different. But as soon as you have a company with employees, you have responsibility towards the employees, certainly. And you have responsibility, of course, towards your customers, and a lot of other parties. I think the biggest freedom is uh, not to have somebody else tell you what to do. So an investor would also be at the table and sometimes be more, say, telling you what to do. A bank might be a burden if you have a loan. I think those things give the illusion of freedom the most, probably, and that's what I strive for. But to be honest, I like it most to get up in the morning and to make my own schedule. So, and a lot of these things on my schedule, they are must do's, or not must do's, but should do's. Let's put it that way. Nothing is a must, but it's a should. And so you're not entirely free, but you still have the feeling of a certain way of I can decide.
Yeah, that's beautiful. This kind of way of organizing your own day and your own narrative in a way. Even though there are some external circumstances where you have to do it, but at least also what works for you. When you after your first business, you mentioned lots of learnings and from the first business. Do you still recall how did it shape you as an entrepreneur? Because and I see entrepreneurship also as creativity. It's kind of like a muscle. It's really hard to start and to go at the beginning because I think the mountain is the steepest when you start, but later on it's like a roller coaster. You up and down, and the more you fail, the easier it gets to fail and learn from it. Do you remember how was it for you after your first business or while building your first business?
Well, my first business, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. To be honest, I was pretty lost in everything there. It was an agency. It was beginning of the 2000s, web design, web development agency, whatever. So a lot of people that knew a little bit about technology were doing that. I did it together with a friend. He was better at design, so naturally I became the programmer. That was ridiculous in itself, to be honest, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But we did client project. We had big clients like Siemens and Mercedes-Benz, and somehow what we could do, we could convince them somehow to choose us. And we had no idea. We were young, I don't know, 22, 23 years old. But somehow they chose us. And we did everything wrong that you can do wrong in the beginning. So this is really not a startup. This is just an internet agency business. But we didn't know what we were doing. We were scared. We didn't know if that was the quality that they would expect. We didn't know how to communicate well. We were really greenhorns. I think the time is very different now that because internet and social media was not so prevalent at that time. We were just really trying to figure things out. And we were in business school, and we didn't learn a thing about what was expected from us in that world. And I very much remember we did that for 2.5 years, I think. It was okay. It was a side hustle kind of, but it paid the bills and it was totally okay. And then my business partner, he got an offer from a Swiss company to go, or a Swiss startup, to take over the managing director role there. He couldn't turn it down. I was basically by myself. Would I go on by myself or not? I was super scared. And basically said, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing here anyway. I didn't have mentors there. I was all by myself. So the biggest thing I should have just chosen a mentor. We can talk into that later, or
Yeah.
looked for a mentor. We can talk about that a little bit later. I did a few internships before then, but only with the corporates, a very different world. And then I decided to go into management consulting for 2 years because I thought I would learn there how to really do business. Because I didn't learn how to do business in business school. So the practical part, just the theories, etc. I knew a little bit about accounting and stuff like that, which served me really well, right? To be able to read a year-end report, etc. But then I went into management consulting, and astonishingly, they also didn't know what they were doing. They were just pretending to know. And then this was great, right? Where I was, it was very nice people, etc. But I didn't learn a lot more than I had before. And then I told all my friends after 2 years, if I'm not out of there, you pull me out of there, right? Because I don't want to stick there. The management consulting thing can be very sticky because you get paid quite a bit of money, etc. And after 2 years and 3 months, I really got out and I started to build my own real first startup. And from there, the journey actually really started. And from there, I've built, I don't know how many companies, quite a few. And then the roller coaster really started because it was 2008. We did a startup in the recruiting sector. It was super, how do you say, like a hot market. Everybody was recruiting. We had I think a pretty decent idea for the time, but the execution was just terrible. And then 2009 came, financial crisis, and everything crashed. And nobody wanted to recruit. But the rookies that we were, I went with a different business partner then. We said like, okay, it's just the market. It cannot be us. We just have to pull through. And at some point, and in bad times, you can create startups, etc. So all that self-talk that comes at some point to just keep on going happened then. And we really we were basically riding a dead horse all the time. We should have just called it a day then, said, okay, this is not the right idea for this time. And also, you don't have any idea how to execute this well. We were programming a platform for 6 to 12 months without talking to customers really. We thought we know what it would look like. Then we hit the market. People said, yeah, great idea, but this product is not really usable. We didn't know how to do customer development well. It was just all the things that you can do wrong. We just did
You've done it wrong. Starting
it's
from
really,
building a product for expecting that it's for someone and not even asking for whom you are building it.
yeah, well, basically, I mean, I kind of was from the industry that needed the product, but I had no idea about the real processes, about the real needs, about what they were really doing. So it was kind of right, but it was just it was off enough, so it wasn't valuable. So I should have read The Mom Test, the book from Rob Fitzpatrick, still one of the best books I think on customer development, because that would have totally changed my mind. Then the lean startup movement kind of gained traction in those years, 2008, 2009, I think. And then at some point I started to understand how you build a startup, but then the ship had already sailed. I was worn out, and we were doing this startup for 4 years or so, way too long. We should have stopped after 6 months. Just said, okay, let's just call it a day, and just do something else. Yeah, so that was my first real startup, and it was a total disaster, if you will. But I mean, you can look at it from two sides, right? The one side is we succeeded for 4 years. We got investment, and we made it happen with a team of 8 or so to sustain them financially for 4 years. But in terms of building something of value, no, we didn't build anything of value there. In the end, we just called it quits. There were not real assets there, and we just had to close down shop.
Okay. So if you would be building right now, let's say if we would go back now to 2008 when you started building it, what would be key indicators after half a year that you should have shut it down? What would you look like? There is no traction, or because of the market changes?
Yeah, first, I think the most important thing is you want to really talk to your customers first before you build anything. I mean, every child knows this now, right? That you talk to your customers first, and then you build something. I didn't back then, but yeah, that's the first thing. Everybody says though. Still, there are quite a few companies that don't do it that way. So understand whether there is really a problem. That's the most important thing. If there's a problem, you can think about a solution. The thing back then was that I went into the HR market with which I thought, okay, this is a market ready to be disrupted, which might be right. At the same point, back in those days at least, they didn't have a lot of a big budget. They always had to ask, like those that were actually recruiting, were in the recruiting market. It was very long sales cycles. You were not really talking to people that had a lot of decision power, that had a lot of really like they were thinking very innovatively. So a lot of things that I think I also would have chosen that differently. So the first choice actually, are you in the right market? And if you are in the right, so you have to have at least some kind of passion, some kind of drive, some kind of intrinsic motivation to be in that market for like 5 years, because you are going to be in that market. You're going to go to all the fairs, all the events, all the something, and you're going to network with those people. You're maybe write a blog, you want to do personal branding in that market, whatever. So that's the first choice. And then the next choice is, do I find a problem in that market actually? So, and then if you really find a problem, then you can think about what might be a good solution to this problem. And is my solution better than the other solutions that exist out there in some way? Does it deliver better results? Is it cheaper? Is it whatever? So this is a very classic lean startup kind of thing. You have a problem solution fit at some point, and then you think about, then you have to check, okay, can I actually make a business with this? So then you start to go towards product market fit. I like this model still from the lean startup idea, that you have certain stages and then you check those off. Too many still, and also serial founders, they still get this wrong because they believe they know. And I did the same mistake. And when I build a business now, I don't make that mistake. At least that mistake again. But still, it's very hard to find whether you are on the right track or not.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you already mentioned with your first business, you already raised some money, you were sustainable for like financially kind of independent in a way for 4 years. How about mentorship? Was it the time when it came to your life, or it was on a different?
So mentorship, I think the best, if I would be 20 years old now, if I would try to break into tech or build my own company, I would not start my own company. It's just freaking hard. And you are going to make a lot of mistakes. I think I would have just hustled to get an internship, executive assistant role, personal assistant role, whatever, with some founder. Be very close to a founder, preferably someone that you like, where you want to understand the industry a little bit, or where you're fascinated by the industry, and then just be very, very close. Work with this founder for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years, and then you do your own thing. You will get in a lot of contact with people from the network of this founder. You'll get a lot of insights. You'll see the roller coaster firsthand. You will know, do I really want this? Do I really want this? Right? Because the main question at some point is, like, are you a pirate or are you not a pirate? A pirate in the terms of, do you just want to be on a yacht? And like, are you doing this because you want to buy the yacht at some point and then you think you are going to be happy? Or are you actually, do you love to have this journey of sailing out into the ocean, even if it's just a very small boat, a very worn down boat, but you say, I'm going to sail anyway, and I'm going to do this journey, because it's much more likely that you are going to have the small boat for a longer amount of time, and you're going to maybe end up with a yacht. But if you're only doing it for the yacht, it's very unlikely. Or let's put it that way, it's not the best way or the fastest way to get a yacht to become an entrepreneur. There are much, much better and much safer ways.
Yeah, and maybe a bit easier ways as well.
Yeah, probably a lot easier as well.
Yeah. So what made you to continue startup journey? Did you figure out that you are up for this whole challenge of going by your active ocean? Did you find there your self-expression and where you feel like home?
Yes, absolutely. So I really feel drawn to the ocean of entrepreneurship, if you will. And so I just want to sail. and I don't have a destination really. I just want to sail because I love sailing and that picture of entrepreneurship, right?
Mhm.
So I love entrepreneurship. I love to be out there. I love the ups and downs, kind of at least. So I just love to create and build and tinker, and in the end, the feeling of you had an idea, you built something, and then somebody is even willing to pay for it, is still a feeling that for me is unmatched. So you had an idea, just went out there, you built something, somebody's paying. Wow.
That's beautiful. When did this whole make business human again come into your entrepreneurial journey?
So I'm very much back to when I was 12, that vision of those Native
Of those
American
native.
chiefs that were out there, and um, yes, probably also somewhat romanticized version of. I read these biographies of these different chiefs back then, um, and also just fictional stories, and that still was something that very early on I was very much drawn to. And a tribe really works in a very human way, and they are like a family. I'm not saying a company needs to be a family. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a certain kind of humanness about it, and I had the luck that I had a few leaders in my life, which very much impacted me. I think good leaders can have an incredible impact on a young person's life. And there are two, probably three leaders that had that to me, and they always had a human approach to it. So that doesn't mean soft. We often think about human meaning soft,
Mhm.
but I wanted to. So my idea was always that business or businesses should serve humanity, and not humans should serve businesses. So I think that's the main kind of core thing. And the economy that we have is very much the other way around. So a business says, okay, I employ you, I fire you, I whatever, you get money, you do this for me. But we kind of lose track of why are we actually doing that, the whole thing. So it's this making business more human has an impact on the business level. This is or the organization level. This is what I learned from other leaders, but it also has an impact beyond, and this is what I learned later on. At Pirate Summit, we did in I think 2019 or so. We had a theme for the conference: solve real problems, which very much, if you have all these people there, and they are solving or they are building something, all of them are solving a problem, some problem. Otherwise, what they do would be art or something else. Um, but they have a very specific problem. They solve it, and then somebody else pays for that uh, that solution. And also this making business more human. And I coined that in that phrase then later on. That was the same impulse, just like I wanted to tell people, hey, look at the real problems that we have. And a lot of the problems that we have are actually problems where something is amiss in the society, or in how things are done. And of course, you can go out and you can say, I'm going to build something where I can make the most money. Yes, maybe Tinder for dogs would gave a great amount of money, right?
It's a great industry, animals.
The question is, does that really solve a big problem, or a real problem, or something that is really pressing? I'm not saying, sorry, probably there exists the Tinder for dogs somewhere. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think about what are you gonna spend your time on? And we have so many issues, and many of these issues are also issues that we as a society have. So that's the broader thing of making business more human. It's on an individual level, on a team level, organization level, and also as a on a society level that we can apply that. And I would just hope that people, I mean, you have a limited time here, that they spend their time in a good way and maybe think about how humanity can progress forward by being human, but also helping solve problems that make the world just a better place. And in the end, if you ask most entrepreneurs, that's why they do what they do, and not
Yeah.
because they want to make money. At some point, it gets a little bit corrupted. You go into a different way because you get too big, too powerful. There's too much pressure from something. But it would be good if we all get back to those initial ideas. Why are we doing what we're doing? And hopefully to make the world a better place. That would be wonderful for all.
100%. How is it for you? Have you ever lost your way while traveling through entrepreneurship?
How do you mean? Do you mean in a sense that I didn't that I worked on on money
That, yeah,
things
that you do
rather
not
than
work
on
on the
doing something
problem
good?
solution and that you kind of
Yeah.
a bit drifted away from your true core values.
Uh, I don't think that I ever lost my true core values. I think I could have, if I would be a better entrepreneur, which I probably am not, I would have made a lot more money because I would have chosen or I would have had made different decisions. I made the decisions that I made, and from financial point of view, I probably suck as an entrepreneur because yeah, I followed my values and not the money, I think. Um, have I lost my ways? So I've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of wrong decisions. I've invested in the wrong companies, bought the wrong products or like companies. Um, so a lot of things didn't go as I thought they would. So that yes, I went astray. Also after my first startup, I again made mistakes. Most of the time, different mistakes. I didn't make the same mistakes as I did back then. But yeah, it's always been a journey of discovering myself and sailing into the unknown, not knowing what is going to await, and yeah, maybe also ending up in the wrong place, if you will. So having challenges that I didn't appreciate or that I didn't really welcome, that were really challenges. Yes, that totally happened. Have I lost my values? I don't think that I have.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to
So
hear that.
yeah,
That's can be very tricky because you mentioned also, right? Sometimes it can be that you get into the pond of sharks and the pendulum keeps drawing you. And no matter how strong you are, sometimes you just lose that battle, staying true to yourself and then getting into a different side. So very beautiful to hear that. But you mentioned right now a lot of course, uncertainties. Entrepreneurship is uncertain in general. How do you cope with uncertainty? Were you always comfortable with unknown uncertainty and such high risks?
so with my first real startup in 2008 that I built, the recruiting one that I talked about. So
Yeah.
I was not ready for the uncertainty that was waiting for me. Not ready at all. I would have loved a mentor there. I would have loved somebody where I could just kind of lean on and just cry for a moment and then gather myself and go on. I didn't really have that. I really should have. So if any young entrepreneurs are listening to this and you have a hard time, and really talk to someone that has been there. I mean, and they will gladly listen to you. I'm certain of it. So we had financial pain a lot of times back then, a lot of times, and I didn't know how to pay the employees, and it was really a few days before payment was the salaries were due, etc. It was not fun at all, and I had this high feeling of responsibility towards the employees. They were counting on me to really pay the salaries. Of course, that was my job to make sure that these were paid on time and in full. And uh, there were quite a few sleepless nights back then. Yes, so I was not ready for that. It's a lot less now. So yes, I still have companies from the pirate family still are running into issues, challenges, sometimes also financial trouble. But I sleep a lot better now. I have a lot more calmness because it's something that you can train, I think, to become more resilient. And yeah, one of my mantras is the sun is going to rise tomorrow, right? So it's just going to tomorrow is another day, another chance, another way to just go at it. And it's okay for now. Let's just leave it be, and we just look at it tomorrow. And that really helps me. So and maybe I have to say I'm a single dad, 50% of the time. So I've 50% of the time I have my kids. And I'm very strict. And also through this, I've became very good at context switching. So I can do business, and then I know at 3 o'clock my kids are with me, and then I just say stop to the business part, and then I leave everything behind. It usually works, and then I say now it's kids time, and then I'm totally focused on my kids. We do something, we whatever, go out, play, swim, whatever it is. And I'm fairly good, I would almost say very good, but I'm fairly good at just blanking out everything that I have in my head about any problem that might be in the business side. And if I have to, I'm going to address that after they are going to bed. But most of the time, I'm just going to address it tomorrow. Probably then first thing in the morning, but then I'm going to address it, and then it's a new day, it's a new something. Also, that time span between the moment where I leave it and the moment I pick it up, that takes this whole emotional kind of baggage or overwhelm that comes, takes that away, and I'm quite good at then okay, what's the action? And as soon as I'm back in action, it's also fine because then I'm back at my agency again. So that's basically and it's a big progress from my first startup where I could not really sleep, to where I am right now. It's
That
a
sounds
learning
like that.
process, and it's a muscle that you can train.
Yeah. I'm always very curious, especially like when you look into the whole entrepreneurial scene, it's a lot of, I mean, myself coming from Lithuania, right? We're very much from the hustling culture. And the way I grew up and the way I saw business being run around and everything, well, it's just you go all in game, and it seems like up until this point, you just sacrifice everything if you want to build a company, sacrifice your relationships, your family environment, your hobbies, just to really kick off the ground. In comparison, when I moved to Denmark quite many years ago, I saw here a bit different model, the way they're building the companies, the way they're approaching. Of course, there is a very different financial setting in a way, how much support you can get. So it means the risk is way lower. Do you think did we get here that we can build a successful, scalable business to solve global problems and maintain healthy relationships and some hobbies and more calm lifestyle, or just a dream we want to achieve?
Well, to be honest, I was on the hustle train quite a bit in my early years. So I that very much I can see myself in the picture that you paint from Lithuania. Um, the thing with entrepreneurship is, so you have to put in a certain amount of hours. If you are young, you have to put in double the hours because you just don't know, and are just going to fail. And the failure is important to gather experience. It's very hard to say, but it is like that. There is no shortcut to really experience. And if you are on your own, or with two people, both of you are on your own, you are going to make mistakes, and that's also totally fine. So there is a certain, I think, necessity to hustle or to work. No, hustle is the wrong word. I wouldn't use that word anymore, probably. To work more hours when you are just starting out. Um, I don't do that anymore, and I don't promote that at all. I would rather have a culture as in Denmark. So you have this famous saying, I think, from China, 996. So from 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Something like that would be very like very much something that I would not promote. I don't think healthy. What you are promoting then again is that you are building something to just build businesses, and it's very weird. I think life is not just about building businesses. I mean, it's everybody's singular choice, but it would not be something that I would promote, because I just don't. I think there are certain limitations to what a human is capable of, and it also wouldn't set a healthy work environment. It would not be in line with making business more human, if you know what I mean. So I'm very doubtful of that culture. Still, I think um, it's necessary in the early days to just work more than later on. I'm not sure how much I worked, but if it's needed, I also work a lot. But what I know is I'm a lot more productive than what I was 10 or 15 years ago. And I think I work on much more the important things, much more than the unimportant things. As to lifestyle businesses, that was also, I think, your question. Honestly, I think it's a weird term, lifestyle businesses. In the end, I applaud everyone that creates a business that where customers are paying money, and you can hopefully not only sustain yourself but also a team. So as an organization, you work on something bigger than yourself, and you're building something of value that other people pay for. If it's just €1 million of a revenue with 200,000 of profit, I think that's a success. Is that a lifestyle business? You may call it that. I think if you have a few employees, I don't know, 5, 10, something like that, you're already doing something good. You're providing for other people with what you are creating. I think that's an extremely good position to be in. Do you want to grow it to 10 million? I don't know. Do you want to grow it to a billion? Honestly, I don't find that so great, to be honest. So I think what I would see if I would think about Europe, I would love to see a lot of small. So in Germany, we have this word Mittelstand. So
Finished.
these are these are the companies that are basically, in Germany at least, the backbone of everything of the German success that came after the Second World War. Everything was in ruins, and then small companies provided, right? And you have quite a few hidden champions, so really world leaders in their niche. And I think Europe could be the same thing in the digital space. So I'm thinking about thousands of or 10,000s of smaller companies with 10 to 50 employees that do something really well in the digital space. It's fine to also have these unicorns, etc. But I think we should not only breed unicorns. We should also have this backbone of a lot of small companies that actually provide value, but also provide salaries to employees. So this is a little bit what I would hope. And most of these companies are actually bootstrapped, to be honest.
Yeah. Where do you see we're going right now? I'm gonna have even more bootstrapped companies.
So
Where do you think
sorry,
we're
what?
going? Where do you think we're going right now with this whole
Oh,
startup scene and investment? Right? I
so
started noticing that we are having more and more founders who are bootstrapping and choosing this more like sustainable way of growing rather than just scaling. We've got all the terms zebras coming up as well, rather than unicorns. But then the other side of the media is still pushing to unicorns, unicorns, unicorns. What is your point on
yeah,
that?
so I have nothing against unicorns. I just think it's a very um, yeah, monolithic kind of way of building a business. And it's also something, if you have like single monoliths, it's something that is not necessarily healthy, monopolies, and so I rather have this interwoven network. So just saying, I'm not against unicorns. I just think we need variety. Variety
Yeah.
always gives a strength. I think that we are definitely seeing more. I mean, we have done that 2017 or so. Our theme was in the black. So we were, for the first time at Pirate Summit, really talking about profitable companies. That was something that not a lot of people wanted to hear. And certainly the investors were kind of frowning, like, what are these Pirate Summit guys doing there? Like, okay, they need growth, 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 and profit. Who cares? That comes after we exit, maybe, if at all. And we were talking about that's something that needs to be talked about. And we were not saying that because of we need something else. I was saying that because we need more optionality. And I think that notion has become a lot more mainstream lately. And you have a lot of tools, AI, a lot of the indie developer scene has really developed over the last 10 years. It's great what is coming out of that. So there is a very healthy base, I think, of companies coming. Is it more or not? Just a gut feeling, I would say yes. But honestly, that's something probably you could look up in figures or so. Is the VC model not broken or in jeopardy, but do we need to rethink it? I think yes. So I think the VC model as it was, it also needs to evolve. But there are other people that can comment on that a lot better than I could probably can. So I want to be someone that helps or that inspires people to think about choosing a bootstrapping approach as well, as long as possible. Once they do, they can always get funding. If they start with funding, it's very hard to break out. So to go back and choose the bootstrapping or the route of profitability, because the investors at some point, they want to get their money back. And you are basically, the moment you raise your first round, you're basically agreeing to sell your company in the next five to 10 years. And if that's the way, totally fine. But if you think like maybe that's not the way, maybe I want to stay independent and be flexible and have optionality, then bootstrapping is a very valid approach.
Thank you for your comment. And you mentioned variety, right? And yourself in your portfolio of businesses and your activities, one of them is events. And of course, well-known Pirate Summit has been running you've been running it 12 years, right? And last year it was the final, but next week you're bringing back the small community again to Cologne. How did Pirate Summit come into place?
Pirate Summit was actually really an idea that came into place. Various people gathered in the area of Cologne, indeed, here in Germany. And it was 4 university students and 4 more seasoned entrepreneurs in 2010. And we said we need a good conference because all conferences that we know they feel kind of stiff. They feel kind of not for us. And we need a conference that speaks to entrepreneurs themselves. And actually a place, always we imagined it to be a place that is kind of safe, where people can really share also their fears. And I was in that time, it was 2010, I was 2 years in my startup. I was really, it was very, 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 very tough. And I was looking for a place like that myself. So I had a group back then of trusted like colleague founders, like fellow founders, other founders, and we met every other month or so, and we just shared like our secrets and our pains and our sorrows and everything. And I wanted to make this a little bit bigger. And then it turned into the first gathering of 220 people what looks like a scrapyard in Cologne. And people liked it. And it was, from an event perspective, it was one of the worst executed events that you can think of, because we didn't have catering of like 2 weeks before the event, etc. We didn't know anything about events really, but the right people came, the right place was found. And then over the time, it was never meant to be a business. It was just a passion thing. We grew until capacity of the venue. And last year we decided to call it quits because also it was just the time had come. And yes, indeed, next week we are going to bring people together. It was an impulse from the community. They said, okay, why can't we just meet? So it's just going to be an evening, which I'm very, very excited that so many people also from abroad are actually said that they would come. So we really have people from Sweden, Latvia, Albania, France, etc. coming. So it's really nice. And let's see what we can pull off.
Is there some kind of agenda or vision you have for the event right now from the gathering? What kind of intention did you set for it?
The intention is just to bring people together. So
And to make
that's
magic.
really the intention. Just reunite the people, gather them again. But just an evening. Oh, there are going to be a few. We always do, right? Going to be a few
Yeah.
things I cannot talk about right now.
Ah,
But there are going to be a few, hopefully, highlights. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be pirate style. Yeah, but there are so Pirate Summit was always one of the highlights was always a burn. So we burned this big wooden statue, which last year was actually from metal because it was so dry. But we burned this big wooden statue, which also was kind of an image for Pirate Summit because it was such a highlight. And I can tell you that burn is not going to happen.
no burn.
No
Can
burn.
we bring our burn? I don't know. I'll just fly just to the burn.
Well, we're going to have something. But I cannot promise,
You
or
cannot
I cannot tell
disclose.
anything.
Oh my God, you really know how to keep the secrets and how to keep this tension. That I
Yeah,
literally want to book now the tickets and find the train to Cologne.
you're
Oh
always
my goodness.
welcome. You know
I'll
that. So
try.
it's
I'll do my best. It's still 1 week, so I still have my ways to figure things out.
just tell me. You are really invited. I'd love to have as many as you who you can, but I can totally understand it. I mean, for an evening, I was totally shocked that so many people were really coming. There are people coming from Sweden by train, which
Love
is
it.
like I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, but that's what community does. From I've got to know about your community. You created the Pirate Summit. Well, I think when I started being more active in the startup scene, it was 2019 when I met all the main guys like Robin Wouters and so on. And they met me and they said, they told me about different events and what can I do and how can I contribute and find my way there. And then, but there is one event where you really have to go, and it's the Pirate Summit. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
no way. And I always dreamt to begin with going to Burning Man, but I ended up going to Africa Burn instead. And I was like, whoa, that looks like we speak the same language with the people there. And it took me, I think, I couldn't go next year, but I think just before COVID hit, I managed to come, something like that, or just after COVID. And I'm like, oh, okay, now we're talking. I already knew some people from the community, I met on other conferences. And I think that was a very beautiful way for me to understand and realize the power of community.
hmm
What you
So
built.
So listen, this is if you really this is I'm gonna share a secret with you now. I haven't shared with a lot of people. So Pirate Summit, right? So what do we actually do there? Um, uh, um, we are with this event. The idea of the event is actually to make business more human, if you will. We never talked about it like that, but if you are at Pirate Summit, you get an idea of what we're actually doing there. And we are kind of, and this is what I hope that also people will get from there. We are, I believe business needs more sisterhood or brotherhood, right? Companies, especially in times with climate change, etc. If you especially if you think about climate tech startups, etc., they should not be competing. They should be like a solidarity. Like we are all going to fix this together. You do this part, we do that part, you do that part. Of course, there will be overlap, etc. But you can still meet each other on good terms, kind of. And we wanted to be that place where you could be that, even if you are competitors, that you could have a good time and that you could speak to each other. And this is the secret now. I always wanted to bring love to business. I never said it
Mhm.
publicly like that, but I wanted to this. There's a certain energy to a love that if you are filled with love, if somebody else is also filled with love, you are creating something very different than when you are not filled with it. When you are filled with fear or something like that, it's a very different approach. And if you are creating, and all the entrepreneurs are actually creating, then love is the much better, let's say, impulse or energy or something that drives you the driving force than a fear is. I think so.
Totally.
That's the secret. That's why I did Pirate Summit for so long, because that was my little job. I never wanted to say that because people get it wrong and what is he talking about and he's weird and stuff like that. So I phrased it in different ways. But actually, I want to bring love to the business world. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Manuel.
Yeah, I've never really said that, I think. So this is really the first.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
How does it feel to say it out loud?
Yeah, Pirate Summit's over now, so yeah.
No,
But so
there is the comeback next week, a small one.
it's
So
the comeback. I know.
how
I
is
know.
it going with the final stitches to organize it?
It's always the same. You know what it is like. It's always last minute, and yeah, but it's all going to be fine and all coming into place.
I know
Yeah,
it will, but that's
it
beautiful. I'm
will
really,
it
yeah,
it will be a great event.
I have
Yeah.
no doubt. And let's see, maybe I will manage to join. But I'm really glad that you found time in your busy schedule with a lot of last minute stretches to do before the event. We all know how intense it is to organize something. And even it's like on a side, right? You're working a lot into different businesses and you do a lot of mentorship, if I got it right
Yes.
as well. So, but I think that's the topics we can cover next time. If you will be open to do part two, because I have a lot of questions about mentorship and your approaches towards that, and in general, how to run multiple businesses. That's a mysterious thing. You're wearing so many different hats, but you still keep your smile and open heart. So that's very beautiful. Is there anything final message you would like to spread with people who are listening right now to this episode, mainly, I guess, from the community, founders, or someone who wants to switch into entrepreneurship?
Good question. Let me quickly think about something. So if people really want to start, then the best way is to start. There's no other way. Um, the place where you start and the direction that you are starting is always the right place. You are not going to end up where you think you are going to end up, and that is totally okay. Um, do not lose hope on the way there. Do not do trust yourself. Seek help as much as you can, and whatever you do, yeah, always think about building something valuable for the world. So solve a real problem. So if more people are going to do that, we are much better off right away. So yeah, that's maybe my message to entrepreneurs or to aspiring entrepreneurs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and we will put all the links to how people can read your writings, especially you're active with the newsletter and LinkedIn, and how we can learn more about what you do. So it's going to be in the podcast description. And thank you, Manuel, for joining to the Perception Paradox. And thank you, everyone who were listening today. Have a great day, wherever you are.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Yay. We're done. I'm pressing stop. Thank you.